Welcome back to another episode of Skate Fast Turn Left. I know it's been a little bit. I think the last one we did, I don't remember the last one we did because it's been so long. Training and nationals, trials, worlds. It's been a little bit, but we're back. And today we're going to talk about the selection process, more the 2025 proposal for Team USA selection process. So for those who haven't seen it, it is on the USA or USAR's regional representatives Facebook page that they have, and the post was posted by Christopher Springer. I think the original post made was Mike Godin, but before I get into more of it, the big thing I guess some people might ask is, why are we changing the selection process? Is it okay? Like, isn't it fine? Don't we have the same one? The answer is yes and no. For some people, yes, it is perfect for them. For other people, no, it's not. My opinion, it's flawed. And these past 2-3 years have shown that our selection process is flawed. We took 7 senior women. The selection process is 6 spots. We ended up taking 7 because there was a flaw in the system. Because if you did points one way, this person went. If you did points another way, this person went. So they ended up, to be fair, they ended up taking both girls within it. But that showed more of a flaw. If you go back, I think it was 2 years ago. No, the year before, because the Worlds in Italy twice. There was an incident as well where someone won a race, medaled in the other 2, but still was an alternate on the team versus someone who made it with 1 medal, and just because they had more points throughout, because they were scattered more. The person that had the medals, they were in different specialties, sprints versus distance, which brings, I have more on that later within it between the positions. So we're actually going to go over it now. I'll bring this full screen within it now, I think. There we go. So, Speed Committee would like to propose the below to be used for the Team USA selection process for 2025 and on. I should put in there that they do have to get this in as soon as possible because there is a time frame. If they do not get it in, the USOPC, I believe, will not approve the 2025 selection process. They have to get one approved basically as soon as possible, depending on when we're going to have our trials. So they give 2 reasonings, which none of it's because they said it was flawed, even though it is within it. And some people can come at me that it's not flawed, but it's been shown for the past 2-3 years that there is a flaw within our selection process. And some as an athlete, I've seen that, and that's why a lot of people skate every race, because that can happen because the selection process is flawed. So back to the reasonings. First is Team USA needs 100-meter specialists compete in the race at the World Championships. It has historically been a hard race to fill. This year in particular, none of the existing Team USA athletes were comfortable skating that race at the World Championships. I do not agree with this statement right here. This year in particular, none of the existing Team USA athletes were comfortable skating that race at the World Championships. I don't know about you. But they obviously didn't ask me or my teammate that raced it as well. But we were comfortable racing the race. I know there were skaters that were not comfortable racing that race that raced it. I know that. And I know it has been hard to fill. But saying none of the existing Team USA athletes were comfortable skating it is not true. You have to put it completely as it is, because that's not a true statement. But on to the second reasoning. The alternate positions have been a challenge every year. Do they go? Do they not go? Are they part of Team USA? Are they not? We want to eliminate the ambiguity and add position G and position H as official members of Team USA. Eliminating the alternate position is something that members has asked for previously. I 100% agree with that reasoning. I absolutely did not like in the first year of Italy where we treated the alternates like they were not on team. It was absolutely terrible. I did not like 1 second of that. You know, they weren't involved in everything that we did being with Team USA, and again, didn't like it. They couldn't stay with us. The only thing they do is train because they had to find their own ride to the track, and the courses didn't like it. So now let's get to the proposal for junior and senior Team USA shall include the following athletes, male and female. Now this is 8 spots instead of 6 spots. 6 spots. The previous selection process had 6 spots, and basically, I'm going off the top of my head here, so correct me if I'm wrong. I may have to add it up here. Position A was your time trial specialist. Position B was your points race specialist. Position C was your sprint race specialist. Position D was your elimination specialist. Position E was your sprint specialist. And position F was your track, or not track, just your overall distance specialist within it. And then you had G and H was, again, basically your second overall distance specialist and your sprint specialist overall in points for it. So let's get into it. First, they changed position A. It is now 100 meter road, 100 meter specialist. I should say more backwards. Position B is your time trial specialist, 100 meter road, 200 meter track. I'm going to say more of my thoughts before I go through the whole thing. I don't think there should be 2 sprint spots back to back, because then you're going to end up most likely, I shouldn't say with everyone because it's different, but I'm going to go off of senior ladies because I always seeing at the points, because I try out and I was sprint specialist for since 2018. I've made in a sprint spot. If we would have gone off this selection process for last year, a distance, more moderately distant skater would have taken position B. And then we would end up in the same situation that we had before, where there were more distance and sprinters and couldn't figure things out. But back to it. They have position E as, not B. Position C is a 5K points track, 10K points road, which is your points race specialist. Position D is your sprint race specialist. So that's your 1 lap on road, your 500 meter plus D on track, and your 1,000 meter on track. Position E is your 10K track elimination, 15K road elimination, so your elimination specialist. Position F, which I have had an issue with from the get-go, is your sprint specialist, so your 200, your 500 plus D, your 1 lap, and your 1,000. No, why do I have an issue with it? It is listed as a sprint specialist. There's one race that is missing from the sprint specialist. What is it? The 100. The one main reason why they said we should have just a spot for the 100. I think maybe instead of putting just one spot just for the 100, maybe add the 100 to position F. Because if I would have done the points race for some people would have taken that spot just off of their 100. They got 4th or 5th place points the entire way through for a sprint race, and then they medaled or got 2nd or even won the 100. But because it only goes for one spot, they didn't make team. But they would have if that 100 was in the sprint specialist spot. I mean, it is named sprint specialist. It's not sprint race specialist. And if people were to say, well, you have to, the 200 is there, your time trial specialist. Why create a whole separate for one race when you haven't even tried to add it into one of the other positions? That's the other thing with it. Now, moving on with it, because I may get back to it a little bit later on that. Position G is your 10K points elimination track, 10K elimination track, track distance specialist. That is not correct. Position G should be your 5K points and your 10K elimination track. There is no longer a 10K points elimination on track. And position H is your 10K points road and your 15K elimination on road, which is your road distance special. I'm not sure if I like having the track and the road distance specialist separated. We went away from having an overall track and an overall road for a reason. Don't think that's going to help our country get stronger in that sense within it, because if you go to World Championships, most of the same people skate the road as the track. The only thing is maybe they'll skate the points race versus the elim race. And that's not necessarily the road versus the track. That shows why they don't skate the race, so they specialize for it. Another thing I want to point out is, if you notice, the 1,000 is only in the sprint races, the sprint spots. But it has been known there are a lot of distance skaters that skate the 1,000 as well. So maybe you add the 1,000 on the distance. That may help with some of the decision making. I mean, the 1,000 is, we put a lot of, not pressure, but a lot of weight again on the 1,000. But yet it's not in any of the spots for the distance races when distance skaters do end up racing that race at Worlds. Just another thought on that. Now that we covered some of my thoughts on it, we're going to go through some of the thoughts of the membership. Okay, we're going to go quick as we can through it. Tori Carter. In the interest of managing expectations of World Team USA members 6 or 8, or whatever, there should be some formalized verbiage in the selection document that states that regardless of the selection process, no races are guaranteed and there are only 2 USA spots per race at Worlds. Every athlete and the parents going need to know what the strongest 2 skaters in the distance will compete at Worlds. The USA should be represented by the best skaters in that distance. For example, I had 0 issue with being alternate listed in the 5K points, and to Jessica and Ellie, of course, they should have 2 spots and would finish higher than I would have. Well, it does say that SR 442.3 says no races are guaranteed. Number 2 in a world skate decision, which they can change at any time. Everyone interested should be well aware, but in my opinion, it's not a useless rule. Marathon is one exception. That's what Jim White put. And I know if it's not in writing, it is said in every meeting that we do before you say, oh, I really want to go. It is put out there. Only 2 skaters will make this race. The 2 that we think will get the highest placements. Some people do not get races at Worlds. I was almost one of those skaters. I went to Worlds. I had my expectations, and I was told, I most likely will not get a race. So instead of just, I was upset, but I took it as, okay, well, I'm still here. I'm at a track that you don't get to skate on very often because it was a movable, portable, whatever it is, track. So I skated on it as much as possible. I ended up racing a race. I ended up skating the 1,000, which is the last time I skated the 1,000 till this year. I was told the day before, because 2 of the skaters put out because they did not feel that they would do well in the race, and I believe some of them wanted to save their legs in the racing for the more races to come later. So that is what they did. And it's actually a story that Kelly tells all the time. Before we have our races told to us. But back to it. Next one is Gypsy Lucas. No, we do not need 8 participating at Team USA. This past year there were 7 senior ladies, and 3 of the 7 skated one race where were there for over 2 weeks and tensions were high. One senior lady cussed a staff member the last day of track competition due to this. Junior ladies had 6 and 1 did not race until the 100, and she was not a sprinter, and it was a gimme race. The parent was pissed. The complaints from athletes, parents that are on the team not skating far outweighs the minimal people saying that we should take 8. If we are truly concerned about cost for the athletes and all families, this is a slap in the face of the skaters who made the top 6 spots but did not race and still paid the full amount to go. This is a very expensive trip to ride the pine. Also, the 100 should not affect any other positions. We should take 200 skaters. Think Ben or Marquinhos. I don't agree with taking 2. That is my personal opinion. Having 2 100-meter spots. I mean, that is my personal opinion with it because, man, let's say you move the 100 into that last sprint specialist spot. That is another chance for that skater to make team for it. I mean, you're basically saying, well, if you won this race, you're on team, but if you win all these other races, nope, you're not on team. How is that more fair with it? So she had an alternate option, which was position A is a 200, 500 one-lap sprint. Position B is the 5K points track, 10K points road, which is your points race specialist. Position C, your 1-lap on road, your 500 meter plus D on track, your 1,000 meter on track, which is your sprint race specialist. Position D, 10K track, 15K road elimination specialist. Position E, 200 meter, 500 meter plus D, 1 lap, 1,000 sprint specialist. Again, missing the 100. Position F, 5K points track, 10K elimination track, 10K points road, 15K elimination distance specialist. That's where I think the 1,000 should be put in. Position F. Because, again, distance skaters skate the 1,000. How many distance skaters are in the 1,000 at the end? There's a lot, sometimes more distance skaters and sprinters in the 1,000 final. And that's what I'm not understanding with that not having in there. And then she has position G and H as first and then second 100 meter. This will eliminate alternates. Your E, F position are your backups and must have the knowledge. Your E, F positions are your backups and must have knowledge that they may or may not race unless their times are better. Keep the notes that you must medal at ODN to be able to go. Invite the overall points athletes from ODN who were 7th to 10 to come to residency as well for growth purposes. But also like see stipulation that if you can go, you cannot do the average time of top 20 in each race from Worlds the year before. You cannot go to Worlds. We as USA are not strong enough to host a full team of 8 when they're not fast enough to make finals in every distance at the moment. Sorry. The argument that every team takes the full roster is not true. We were the second largest team this year. Italy was the only team to have more home country, and Colombia was 1 less than us. The rest of the world had 20 or less athletes. China next year will be worse. Ask the parents of the athletes who did not skate how they feel about the 8 on a team. Guarantee they will say no. Also, what happened to the proposal to discuss the idea about making residency the actual selection. That is a very good idea and should be moved forward. Lastly, if the athletes are not skating the 100, they should go home or be handed over to the parents or themselves the off day between road and the 100. This would have saved 3 days of expenses for 90% of the athletes. With the marathon not being part of Team USA event now, there is no reason to stick around. There were at least 4 juniors that did not skate the 100 or marathon. Why are they responsibility of the staff for 3 additional days for no reason? Just alternate thought process option to be considered. There were a lot of replies to this. Also, perhaps we should look at each division differently. What if the junior men have 7 that could run times and make finals, but junior ladies only 4? May countries bring more in one division over another based on the quality of the selection options? We do not have to be cookie cutter between divisions, just a thought. I actually know, not time-wise, but speaking with other athletes, that there was some research put into it on having different weight on different races within it on previous years of the previous World Championships. So if the 500 was the race, let's say for the junior men, that race would be weighted more at trials than the other races, where right now the weight is on the 1,000 meters, so our highest placement within like the 500 for it. I'm not gonna read all of this. I'll stop to read it, but you can pause to read some of it. I'm gonna go back up to Gypsy's. First thing here, this whole point, I don't like airing out people's dirty laundry. That was some Team USA dirty laundry that didn't need to be shared out. Nobody probably knew about it until this was posted. So I do not agree with that being posted. I don't agree with completely how this proposal is set. I think it shouldn't change entirely. Like I said, I don't think it should be just one position. It's just, you win the race, you're in. What about the other races? What about the 1,000? That's the one with the most weight. What if the person who wins 1,000 should automatically just be on team right then and there? Now I get it, it's by time, but even then, there are issues with 100 and things like that. So basically, one person's on, one person's off one day, and that's that. Which again is trials. We don't have multiple races like it used to be in the past. You race 500 like 3 or 4 times, and you drop your worst race, I think it was. let's keep going. So a lot of people do not see of bringing extra value or extra skates if they bring value to it. Jay, the position G is incorrect. It's not 10K, it's a 5K. Jay is long. The other point that I want to bring out, which Gypsy, I guess, for saving money, because we are one of the countries that pays its own way. I will just say this, having, you have, let's say, you send everybody else home. They don't experience the ending of anything. You know, at this point, World Skate wants to make it bigger, so they'll have, like, an end of a championships party or things like that. Or closing ceremonies. Basically what it is. It's your first time, you're gonna miss that. I mean, you didn't have opening ceremonies, and if you would have sent all those other people home, they would have been the closing ceremonies for it. And not only that, let's say someone from our team wins a medal in the 100, their full team is not there to support them. You know, and some of it happened, you know, this year where we had to leave and we couldn't support, so other people found rides to stay to support the athletes that got medals. You know, when we were there, we took the pictures, we took the videos. I made sure myself that I was there for when I could be for all the award ceremonies because I was so proud of all those athletes and I wanted to know that we were all there supporting them within it. So that's a little of my point with it. I know there is a money standpoint with it, but instead of just saying take less, do it this way, it'll save money, why don't we find funding or something like that? Or every year, I mean, we have the Jeff Foster versus Chris Kiesler race that raised, I think it was like $3 to $4 grand with just in that short amount of time. Why not set up a fund for it? No, I mean, I think just saying automatically, well, we should do this, this, and this, so we spend less money. Why don't we find ways within our organization to give back to the athletes so they don't have to spend the money? Not just, okay, spend less time at a World Championships. It is a World Championships, yes. We are there to race, but we are also there as a team to support the team when we are not racing. So that is my standpoint on that. I always made sure I was at the track when I could be to support the races when I could, especially when I wasn't racing. Jay Ingram has a really, really long one. So it says, after reviewing the discussions, replying to a few comments, and noting everyone's passion on the matter, the door is open. I would like to contribute my perspective to the dialogue, hopefully to enlighten people, hopefully to help produce something positive and fair and outcome for our athletes. First, we all have to recognize our current system is severely flawed. Perhaps a town hall similar to what we did in 2021 would be worth a try. Yes. It is important to recognize the track and road at the World Championships are distinct, separate competition. Each requires different skill sets and can be considered different specializations depending on the athlete's race, racing conditions, etc. Okay. Kind of changed my mind a little bit on having the distance races, the track and road distance separated. However, under our current selection system, now approaching its 4th year, an athlete could win 2 races on track and still potentially not make the world team. I'm not taking anything away from any athlete in any particular year, etc., but the current selection flaws produced where there have been a case where an athlete who won in place and showed at trials did not make the team. I spoke about this earlier. While others with a single placement did with this system. The current system places disproportionate weight on road events. I didn't think of it that way. Historically, we've had athletes qualify for the team based solely on their track performance without even competing in road events, and they still returned home from the World Championships with medals. This also happened in reverse. There have been people that have only skated track and didn't even skate road because they were already on team. As several of you have leaned towards or stated, should our trials continue to be just black and white. Unfortunately, this year, as in the past, we left behind athletes who were among the strongest, if not the strongest, in specific events. One athlete in particular consistently placed fourth at the previous 3 World Championships, an event that the athletes at Trials and Worlds were reluctant to compete in. This athlete ended 7th or 8th in the Trials. In my view, the athlete should have been selected to compete based on the unique situation that presented themselves during and after Trials. Wait, well, I have to do more research to figure out who that person is that ended 7th or 8th at Trials. What specific event? Anyways, our rules state that we're to follow World Skate rules in a manner that best serves a fair selection process for athletes. This is the reason we eliminated the former sports for World Trials. Again, it is important to emphasize that track and road at the World Championships are 2 separate events. We could potentially have 8 athletes selected for track with a totally different 8 athletes for road, which has happened for various other countries, but they often do it in a manner, whereas also stated here at commas, you have to be hitting times able to keep up. Those different athletes, that could be 8 track, 8 road, or 4 track, 6 road, or any combination possibly, depending on athlete's skill set and speed. But again, our current selection system combines the 2, placing undue emphasis on one road over the other. This is long. It should also be noted that the athletes at the highest level had significant input into what is being processed here. As a former USA World Team coach and manager, I understand that it's easier to coach and manage a smaller team. I have worked with teams consisting of just 4 junior boys and 4 junior girls. Yes, it was easier, but no matter the numbers, it was about them, not about the staff. And I have been staffed with both junior and senior athletes, combined total of 24 plus or minus depending on situations. Dealing with the challenges at this level have always been a part of the job, no matter the number. It is expected and you should be prepared to deal with it and have thick skin. However, it is much easier when social media and the presence of home coaches and parents at the championships were less of a factor. With this fact, the burden should not rest solely on the athletes in today's example towards making things tough for the staff, that we have too many or not enough. Ultimately, the focus must be on them, the athletes, and not what makes staff's job easier. Perhaps a focus on if we were taking the right and proper mix of prepared, focused, fast athletes that could potentially change from year to year. I know for a fact several former world champions had several more world titles in him, but the games played at Trials and the rules set at the time saw a different way, sadly. Hopefully we can do and be better for today's athletes. Should we be leaving athletes behind who dominate specific events at Trials? Imagine where Aaron Jackson would be in our sister sport and their selection process had included multiple different distances, sprint specific races. Say that 10 times fast. Sort of got my point out. Would be on the Olympic Championships today, or would she be the Olympic Championships today? This is supposed to be about and for the athletes what is best for them as a whole. I do agree with a lot of things that Jay said within it. One being, we're here for the athletes. The managers should have to basically figure it out. They should be prepared within it. It's crazy that you can actually take a whole separate 8 in a team. I believe I spoke with someone about this at Worlds for it. I don't think it was necessarily Jay. I do want to know who this athlete was. I got 4th consistently at the World Championships, and then was 7th and 8th for our Trials. Again, the way their system is set up. But he, like he said, is flawed. Okay, so I did put not like another proposal, but kind of like my thoughts of necessarily what it could be, but again, can change. But I will speak on why I think it should be this way. So if we take it, there's really not much that changes from position A all the way to G, because they have the 100 in position G for it. So that is how I have it. But then if we're taking 8 athletes, the only difference in position H is I added the 1,000 meter within it. Because the 1,000 meter is not just a sprint race, in my opinion. It could be both. And I think that is one of the other issues that we have with it. Yes, we have really strong people in the 1,000. We never had an issue with it. But we had a skater who won the 1,000 and did not go to Worlds on the team. They were not a part of the team. They were an alternate. So I think that might have changed things if the 1,000 was added in that position if we took 8. Now if we took 6, then position G and H would move up to the E and F that's in 6 now. So be adding 100 to position E and adding the 1,000 to position F. I think that may cover some flaws that we have within our system now. Why don't we have the 1,000 in a distance spot as well? How many distance skaters skate the 1,000 at Worlds? A lot. There's also a lot of sprinters that skate it. That's why it should be in both sprint and distance positions. So I don't necessarily know about splitting up the track and road. I don't agree on having specifically the 100 by itself in a position, because then you're like, well, why can't the 1,000, the winner, just make team right away? Because there's so much weight on the 1,000 that we have with our current selection process as being a tiebreaker. So that might be another thing to think and look at. So that is kind of my thing on it. Again, if you were to take 6, you would put the 1,000 in here and the 100 in here. If you would take 8, that's the way I would do it. That's kind of my thought process on the new selection process for 2025. That is my coming up with thing for it. But I think take full A with it. Yes, more rooms. Yes, more people to take care of. It does help financially a little bit more because we do have to pay certain for certain things within. If you look at your receipt from Worlds that you got to pay for. So that is all I have. If you guys have any more follow-up questions, feel free to comment them down below and I'll try to answer them as quick as possible. If it's more of like a long kind of conversation thing, I'll probably do like a video on it. No, if I can't type it all out with it. But that's all I got. I hope you enjoyed the video and see y'all next time. I'm trying to do better on the side of it. Bye.